have a high-paying job where you don't need any experience, education, or training to qualify. A 3-month Larry and Barker investigation found state officials doling out $1 million in questionable job contracts to just 2 people. Insiders call these sweetheart deals bizarre, outrageous, even illegal.
January 21st, 2015, a state employee sends a note to the governor's office regarding an appearance of impropriety to Governor Martinez's administration, especially if Larry Barker gets a hold of the information.
Guess what? I've got the files. And as scandals go, this one is a doozy. It involves $1 million, sweetheart deals, and abuse of power.
I don't know what they're up to, but there's something wrong.
This is just money spent and right down the toilet.
This is not what citizens should expect from their state government.
Operating outside the public glare is an obscure state agency hidden away in Santa Fe. The Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, or DVR, provides counseling and financial assistance to the state's disabled population.
But behind the scenes, DVR is a troubled agency. It involves $1 million in contracts that were not by the book. It's a messy situation that's been called bizarre, outrageous, even illegal. But ask top bureaucrats about it, and they'll give you the same answer. Problems? What problems?
Paul Aguilar is Deputy Secretary at the Public Education Department.
I'm very comfortable with what's happened.
Joe Cordova heads up vocational rehabilitation.
I am not aware of any improprieties.
In fact, DVR managers have been repeatedly warned about wrongdoing. Red flags were raised by the agency's own attorneys, the chief financial officer, and the acting director.
It started when DVR hired a Veterans Outreach Coordinator. That's someone who could find disabled veterans and get them to apply for DVR services. The outreach job was put out to bid.
There was no experience, education, or training required. In fact, the only qualification was that you be a veteran. Just one bidder applied, an unemployed Santa Fe man named Clarence Gallegos. Even though Clarence's wife, Eileen, was a manager at the department which oversees DVR, he was awarded a lucrative 4-month contract to do veterans outreach. DVR paid Gallegos $39,000, billed at $90 an hour, to post flyers at bars and post offices, chat up veterans, and hand out business cards.
Even though Gallegos failed to comply with that contract, in July 15, someone here at DVR decided to give him a new contract, pumping another $108,000 into his pocket. And because the deal was not put out to competitive bid, it was in apparent violation of state law.
This time, Gallegos billed the state $56 an hour, which is more than twice what DVR's own counselors are paid. In fact, a man with no college degree, experience, or training earned more than DVR's director, more than the Attorney General, even more than the governor. Last year, DVR put the outreach coordinator job up for bid once again. This time, however, there were 2 bidders, Clarence Gallegos and a fired state cop named Jason Griego. DVR awarded each man a $433,000 contract over 4 years.
How do you justify to taxpayers paying out $872,000 over 4 years to 2 people to do veterans outreach?
That's not a lot of money compared to what we do in general in vocational rehabilitation.
After DVR's attorney Rosa Lima refused to sign off on the contracts, she was sent home and placed on administrative leave.
I explained to them that I was not comfortable with all those violations to sign a contract that could cause problems to the agency in the future.
With Lima out of the way, Director Joe Cordova found another lawyer to sign the contracts. However, shortly before cashing in on his latest sweet deal, Clarence Gallegos ended up in jail. Albuquerque police were called to a local bar after Gallegos became belligerent and caused a disturbance. When he refused to leave the premises, he was arrested for criminal trespass.
So are we going to jail or are we leaving the property?
No. You can take me to jail if that's what you want.
Okay, go ahead and stand up.
Okay.
Go ahead and stand up.
Okay.
Put your hands behind your back.
The case was later dismissed. Today, Gallegos and Jason Griego each collect $100,000 a year to do veterans outreach. Following whistleblower complaints about the mishandling of the contracts, DVR attorney Mel Savarese was asked to do a review. In a 17-page legal memorandum, Savarese found numerous irregularities and concluded the contracts were, quote, legally insufficient. Savarese recommended the agency put a stop to the contracts. That legal advice was ignored.
In your opinion, your own lawyer was wrong.
I think so. That's in my opinion.
In your opinion, Mr. Savarese is just plain wrong.
I believe he is, yes.
Paul Aguilar says another legal review found no problems with the contracts.
It's like, wow. You know, what are they doing over there?
Andy Winiger is a former DVR deputy director.
So why did they do that? Basically, what they are doing, putting up posters and going out and identifying individuals that can go over to a DVR office, and that's what you would pay about $15 an hour for, not $90 an hour.
Senator Jerry Ortiz Pino chairs the Senate Public Affairs Committee.
It's incredible that these contracts would have been let in the first place. Two individuals without any particular credentials or anything to recommend them to get these plums for 4 years. This is like a much better paying job than many state employees could ever hope to achieve.
This is a hell of a way to run a railroad.
Dee Feldman served in the state Senate for 16 years. She is an outspoken advocate for governmental accountability.
The department was repeatedly told not to enter into this contract by its legal counsel, several different legal counsels, and they did not heed that warning. I would hate to see the clients of this agency be penalized for the kind of inefficiency and questionable contracting procedures that the DVR seems to be using here.
To date, vocational rehabilitation has awarded contracts totaling almost $1 million. Those funds come at the expense of services to DVR's disabled clients. Larry Barker, KRQE News 13.
To read the whistleblower letter and other documents related to Larry's investigation, go to the KRQE News app.
That's an incredible